All right, welcome everyone to Wine Wednesday Comic Reviews. I'm your host, Niko.
I'm Christine.
And Christine and me have been together for a long, long time.
We've been doing this, but never recorded it.
Yeah, she's my girlfriend or I guess at this point, pretty much, wife, essentially.
Wife without a ring.
Yeah. Oh, hey now. I didn't know that's what this podcast was about. Is this why you want to broadcast this to everyone? But yeah, basically, I got back into comics, how long ago now, babe? Several years ago?
8, 9 years?
Yeah, a couple of years into us being together. And basically from that time, then you being an avid reader from the past, like, had also been showing some interest in reading some comics once I kind of got back into it. And you've also been reading some comics since, like...
A lot of comics
since
we've started.
Pretty much, yeah. So we used to do this thing, I guess, a few years ago now. We hadn't done it in a while until recently. Basically, we did a thing where on Wednesday, the middle of the week, from...
New Comic Book Day?
Yeah, New Comic Book Day. That is, for anyone who knows, that's when new comic books come out. We used to get our new comics, pick them up, and then read them.
With some wine.
So we figured, what the hell? I guess the last few weeks we've started doing it again recently, just because we've actually had the time, and it actually has been falling quite often on Wednesdays again. We hadn't done it in a while. Mm-hmm. So now with this, the fact that I'm doing a podcast with JT, my buddy here, the late night chat one, we figured, what the hell? Why don't we basically record our sessions, because after we read comics for a couple hours and split a big bottle of wine, we usually sit there and talk about the comics anyways.
Exactly.
So,
why not record it and put our opinions out there?
So every episode we'll be discussing all the single issue comics that we read in any given sit down while sharing a bottle of wine, and then basically turning on the mic. Yeah. And so, and then at the end we rate them. And this is, again, something that we've been doing for a long time now anyways, and discussing it amongst ourselves, because, back when I first got into this, I didn't really have that many friends or people I knew that really, I guess I still don't, that actually read comics or that I could discuss it for.
You're kind of in a community that you have other people to talk to.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
It's still fun to do with me.
Absolutely. So that's why basically it was always good to kind of get through a stack of comics and discuss with Christine kind of what she thought of it. And since we've started doing it again now, it's been quite fun. I have been enjoying it once again. So
it has been, but I will note that I am very far behind in my weekly comic reading, so I'm not up to date at all. So anything that's here could be 3 months old.
Yeah, it's true. So Christine eventually might, if we were to continue this, talk about books I may have talked even months back. So we'll see what we...
We may talk about the same books eventually. Right now it's 2 separate book reading lists.
So we'll see what we can do about that, if we can somehow get you caught up. Maybe if you do enjoy this show, you can urge Christine to get through her massive stack of fucking issues.
Stop reading Harry Potter on the side. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, so then also the other point of this show is to highlight, I guess, the wine that we had the night of that we are rating this. So shout out to this cheap-ass bottle of wine we got here. Most of the time that will be the case, too. You might hear some repeats of cheap, big bottles of wine. Christine, if you want to mention the wine that we are drinking tonight for the folks at home.
Was on sale at the LCBO today, which is a Peller Family Vineyards, a Chardonnay. I think it went for a full $16 for a large bottle of 1.5 liters.
Yeah, so it's basically double the size of your regular smaller bottle of wine, and I believe that's also the wine they serve you when you're on a plane.
Probably.
So
a Canadian plane.
Not a lot of flavor. Gets the job done, though. I mean,
it's refreshing. It's refrigerated.
Exactly. It's white wine, which is pretty excellent right now in the heat
climate
that we're dealing with. So, anyways, without further ado, I guess we'll just get into this thing. Christine, how many comic issues did you read tonight?
I have 7.
Okay. An ongoing thing you might notice too, if we were to continue this, is that I usually am a faster reader than Christine while reading comics, and I'm usually able to fly through quite a bit more.
He reads like double.
So I read about 12 tonight. So
almost double.
Yeah, so for the first couple, I will probably, I guess, review
two for my one.
Two at a time, yeah, until you get down to it. So yeah, I guess with that being said, I can start off. All right, so the first one up is Headlopper. So this is Headlopper Volume 3, 4 of 4. So this is a series that there's been 12 issues of so far. There's been 3 volumes. Each one comes out bi-monthly, so every 2 months an issue would come out, and it is oversized, so it's basically about 3 times the size of your regular comic issue. This is by Andrew MacLean. He is the creator of everything in this. He draws... Jordi Belair, who's a fantastic colorist, is actually the colorist on this book. But Andrew MacLean is the writer, artist, letterer, and designer of this book, and basically, other than the colors, the brains behind the whole thing. I will say, I can't exactly tell you what happened in this issue. If I was going to give you an overview of fucking what happened in this issue, other than an epic battle to end all battles at the end of this 4-issue miniseries. But his art is basically, it is evolved over time, I think, from each miniseries that has come out. Like, we've seen it kind of get looser and weirder, and kind of, it's really changed over time. So, like, I don't know, just with this issue, the art was so amazing throughout it, and yeah, basically that's what everything kind of came to a head with this storyline that's been going on in this current miniseries. I will admit, it is hard to kind of keep track of this ever-expanding world building that he's doing in these series. Like, this new miniseries that he came out with didn't even really feature the Headlopper that much in it. Like, I would say out of all 3 of them, this one probably featured him the least. Yeah. And that's cool. Like, I'm glad that he's able to kind of do that, though. Like, at this point in all the comics he's done with this character, there's so much different world building that he's able to kind of move away from the main character and introduce you to a whole bunch of other things. So I do enjoy that. This one was called the Knights of Venora. So yeah, so I just thought that, like, reading this was really enjoyable. The art was fantastic as usual. It kind of all came to a head in, like, an epic battle. And and I still really love this series. I mean, I gave this a 5 out of 5. I mean, so out of all at the end, even though we may have given 5 out of 5 to multiple issues, we will highlight one comic that stood out above the rest for us at any given week. So yeah, if we're going by things we read this week, this is definitely in the standing. This was quite amazing. And Headlopper is basically a Conan-esque type character who walks around with a severed witch head that and he gets into all kinds of trouble. And it's like, I guess, the severed head of a witch that he killed at the beginning of the Headlopper saga, but then he just like
tagged along the entire ride.
Yeah, it's cursed, and it like stays alive, and
it's like a shrunken head that's alive.
Yeah, exactly. And for whatever reason, he's just like burdened with having to carry this head around now. So give that one a 5 out of 5. Yeah, oh yeah. And next up is X-Men Grand Design Extinction number 2. This concludes the X-Men Grand Design series that indie cartoonist Ed Piskor has been doing for Marvel over the last, I guess it's come out over the last 2 years, but he's been working on it the last 3 years. Like, this is 3 years of his life, this project that he basically poured everything into. Again, this is another indie cartoonist that is basically doing everything in here. He did the colors, he did the lettering, the art. He did everything in this book, other than being the editor for this. He did every single thing. This is just a masterclass in cartooning, this series. If you are a fan of the X-Men from back in the day, the Chris Claremont run, you'll probably get even more out of this. I admittedly have not read all the Chris Claremont classic X-Men, which is like apparently the best era of the X-Men. But I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I will say the one thing about reading this, though, because he's documenting a bunch of occurrences that happened during that era, is it doesn't make it for the best reading experience. It's kind of like
an encyclopedia.
Yes, exactly. But, like, it's so well done. Like, you can't really sit there and say, like, I can't really sit there and say I didn't enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Because even
it's not just like reading a dictionary.
Yeah, but just, like, poring over the art. Like, the art alone is worth checking this book out. And yeah, I mean, every issue has been enjoyable. I mean, I definitely would probably have gotten more from it if I had read this era of X-Men when they were coming out, like he did, and like many other fucking millions of people have. But in the back, he even gives you like a breakdown of every page where he got the research and from what issues he pulled those scenes out of.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so like
footnotes.
Yeah. So like he really put like everything into this series, and it shows. And he's also actually up for an Eisner Award, which is a comic book award this year for this work on this. So I give this also a 5 out of 5.
Oh, wow. You're having a better week than I did. Okay, so I'm going to start with Heroes in Crisis. This is the finale of this miniseries, which is an odd one to start off with on a new podcast. This is by Tom King and artist Clay Mann. So this I thought was... I liked the entire idea of this story, but I thought it was weird that it is the Flash killing the Flash in a circle, basically, like a timeline circle, which they need to end up breaking, where in this issue you find out this whole run, or this whole miniseries, was a murder mystery, basically, and then this is the final issue where you find this out, and then you find out how they're going to fix this whole time lapse problem, where they're going to go in the future to copy future past Flash's body, bring it back to our present, to have past future Flash stop his loop.
Yeah, so basically at first, it's a little, whenever you introduce time travel to the concept of a comic, it becomes, or anything for that matter, becomes confusing. Basically, you found out Wally West Flash. That's key to mention too. It's not Barry Allen. This is Wally West Flash. You find out he was the murderer in this event, but then not only did he make it so it looked like he wasn't the murderer at first by going back by killing his own self. And in this issue, they tried to then, when he was finally revealed to be the killer, the heroes tried to make it so he could take back his mistake. So then it gets...
I revert this whole issue.
So then it fucking becomes like a clusterfuck of him going back and forth.
It's just like a circle of a timeline.
Yeah, to pretty much set things in motion, which would fix themselves, essentially, and kind of undo anything that he previously had done. Because he killed... Poison Ivy died.
Yes.
In this event.
Which I will state that my favorite moment in this issue was Harley Quinn, whom, if anybody knows me, is my main bitch, knees the Flash in the balls as he drops to the ground. That was my favorite.
Yeah. That was a great moment.
It was.
And then, like, and if anybody does know, also in the comics, there's been, like, an ongoing Poison Ivy, Harley kind of lesbian kind of fling going on between those two characters. They love each other. But it's not always intended to be, like, a lesbian thing. They're just, like...
very close.
Yeah.
You don't quite know how far they go.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes it ventures into that.
Even
Sometimes
this issue, it ventures a little farther, and you don't know how far their friendship really goes.
Right. So
But again, she does that with a lot of women.
Yeah.
She really does. But Poison Ivy's her main... Her main.
Yeah, her main squeeze.
Yeah. So I gave this a 3 out of 5.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair.
It was alright.
Yeah. What do you think of the whole event as a whole, though?
It was okay.
Yeah.
I liked the concept a lot more than the execution.
Yes. Thank you.
So...
Yeah. As you know, and I should probably also quickly mention that, like you said, you think I'm a lot better at introducing the creators of the book. It's because I did a comic podcast with some people for 3 years prior to doing this, and before my new podcast, Late Night Chat with JT. Shout out to that show. But basically, we reviewed. I came back on that show recently to review this series as a whole as well, and I agree with you. I didn't enjoy it that much.
Yeah, it was alright.
I just didn't like how they made Wally a murderer in this.
It was weird.
And then they
because
basically...
if you read anything else with him, he's not that kind of guy.
Like, you would think it just seemed very out of character, because you would think if he found out he fucked up, like, on this level, he would have told his friends.
Yes.
Like, they're his friends.
And being like, hey, I messed up, help. What do I do? Not, I'm gonna...
become like
create this entire
serial
convoluted
killer. Yeah, right?
storyline with framing people and doing this and that.
Yeah.
And
It seemed like a long way to go.
it was a very long-winded story for what it was.
But yeah, I agree. So, Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 3 out of 6. And this is... this is Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 3... issue 3 out of 6. So yeah, I'm still really enjoying this. 3 issues in, it's a hell of a lot of fun. Basically, in the first miniseries, the Ninja Turtles came into Batman's world. In the second miniseries, Batman came into the Ninja Turtles world. And in this third one, it's kind of became like an amalgamation of both timelines converging. So they're basically doing like a DC type crisis event where like the timelines are converging over, and all of a sudden things are messed up, and it's started its own timeline where Batman actually existed in the same world as the Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
So like in this issue, instead of the whole Batman seeing his parents shot scenario, in this world, the Batman comes out of the theater, Bruce comes out of the theater with his parents, only to get run over by a car that has that goo. Like, his parents get sideswiped by a truck that was just stolen by Joe Chill, the man who killed his parents in the actual timeline.
Yeah.
He steals a truck full of that goo that changes the turtles, that ooze.
Yeah.
And he loses control, ends up hitting his parents and killing them with the truck, and then the ooze falls into an open sewer grate, and then Bruce also, after seeing his parents killed, slips on it and falls into the sewer with a rat that turns into Splinter.
Of course.
With the turtles he was holding. Like, it had just come from the...
Yeah.
You know what? It sounds really stupid, but it actually
works.
It works. It works. So that him and the turtles and the rat fall into the sewer.
Are all one.
And they all basically... And I mean, he doesn't get affected by the ooze, but the turtles and rat do.
So why doesn't he become affected?
Because he's a human.
He's Bruce Wayne?
Yeah, he's a human.
It only affects animals?
I guess, yeah. So, or you never actually see the ooze fall on him, though. He slips on it and he falls in the sewer.
Okay.
So the turtles that he was holding in his hand get drenched, and so does the rat.
Okay.
So then they all fall into the sewer, and then hence what happened with the turtles, and they got trained down there. Apparently, Bruce, after losing his family, also became,
part of Splinter's.
That's right. And then they became a team.
Yeah.
And then in this, he kind of mentions to him, he's like, look at this Batman who's come into our timeline now. He's from a different timeline, but this is what would have happened to you if you didn't have the people and support and the brothers you had behind you like you do in this time. Yeah. So it's interesting. Like, it actually works very well. Like, actually them comparing, and in this one with the Ninja Turtles that we know in our time, they bring back the black and white Ninja Turtles from the original Ninja Turtle comic. Okay. So there is a Raphael that's black and white in these issues in this series that shows up.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So it's just a lot of fun. They're basically taking everything and just throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks, and it's working really well for me. So I give this a 4.5 out of 5. The art's really good too. It's written by James Tynion. The fourth drawn by Freddie Williams, I think. Sorry, Freddie Williams the second. So they both have numbers. I'm not good with Roman numerals. IV is 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's by James Tynion the fourth and art by Freddie Williams, who's drawn all the, basically all the miniseries at this point. So it's been really good.
So can I nitpick on one weird timeline thing from that?
Okay.
So if they all got covered by the ooze at once. How is it that Master Splinter's the master training the turtles?
What do you mean?
Because you just said that Bruce slipped in the ooze.
Yeah.
And then with the turtles and the rat all at the same time.
Yes.
So if they all turned, why is Splinter the master over the turtles? How come he knows all the kung fu things coming from a rat to a radioactive rat than the turtles to radioactive turtles?
Well, they didn't explain it in this issue, but in the comic, Splinter actually was a reincarnation of a kung fu warrior or something like that at one point, I believe.
Okay.
So, yeah, so...
We're kind of going off of that.
In the recent comics that have been coming out, that's what they've claimed is the case anyways.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's what
what they're going for.
I'm
but
sure
it makes
that's
sense.
what they're going for, but yeah, that's basically what it is.
Okay.
So to your smart ass comment there, I say
there's an answer.
There's an answer for you. And then we got Justice League 27. This issue also written by James Tynion IV. So he's been co-writing this series with Scott Snyder, who didn't write this one, though. This was all James Tynion. And art by Javier Fernandez and Bruno Redondo. Which I'm glad I saw that, because I just thought it was Javier Fernandez, because that's the only name I saw on the cover originally. Because, man, the art was wonky in some of this. And that's probably why. If it was between two artists, and that's why I don't like sometimes the fact that they use 2 or 3 multiple artists on one issue, because sometimes it affects the quality.
Varies.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they make it work if they do only certain scenes in one guy's style, and then if there's a flashback scene, for instance, like, I think it works quite well. But I don't know, for me, like, it's just like, it just affected my enjoyment of this issue. A lot of great moments in this, though. This storyline that's currently going on is very convoluted. I have no fucking idea what the point of this Year of the Villain kind of event that's going on right now has really anything to do with these issues I read this week. I mean, they quickly mentioned Luthor in this and his part in this whole Year of the Villain, which they talked about previously in this issue. But if anything, it was just the ongoing storyline of this series as normal. So, like, it was the slight mention of Lex Luthor in this, who has always been part of this Justice League series. But now they're saying, oh yeah, by the way, he's part of this Year of the Villain event. So I'm just like, okay. I was like, not really necessary. Anyways, there was a really lot of... the story progressed with some great scenes of Martian Manhunter and Hawkwoman in this. Sorry, Hawkgirl. And the rest of the Justice League is rounding up all these anti-Monitor type characters to take down Perpetua, which is like this... She's the one that's the one that was guarding the wall that was going on in this storyline. Yeah. Again, the story is very convoluted so far with this book, and there is a lot going on. A big, epic storyline. So I gave it a 4 out of 5, but that was only based on the art. If the art was a little bit better... the Javier Fernandez art was good, but this Redondo guy, I didn't really like it. It looked quite fucking wonky at times. If it wasn't as bad in certain places, I probably would have given it more. But yeah, it's been pretty consistently enjoyable book, so I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to reading that.
Yeah.
So I'm also reading a Justice League book, but it's Justice League Dark. And this is also by James Tynion IV.
There you go.
Which is what I was pointing to, not that I was reading Justice League.
Okay.
And this art is by Alvaro Martinez Bueno, with inks by Raul Fernandez.
Bueno.
Makes me want a Kinder. Anyways. So this one is Justice League number 10. I read about 3 of these this evening. So this one here, I always love the characters that the Justice League Dark titles kind of have. They're always more of your magical, very dark, if you will, characters, but they always have a magical aspect, except for this one has Wonder Woman as your head, which you wouldn't normally think of for a dark team, I think.
Yeah, because, I mean, they say that she's got association with magic, and that's the point of her being on this team compared to the other Justice League. You don't think of her, no.
Character.
No.
You think Zatanna works, Constantine works, Swamp Thing,
Yeah.
which are all part of this. But, yeah, usually Wonder Woman, you're not like, yeah, she's a dark team.
Yeah, no.
So, in this specific issue, Zatanna learns that her father, Zatara?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Had already foreseen this future that has kind of started out with this kind of war with magic. And Zatanna is very kind of against what's going on, so she really lets it all out, and they're in this other kind of world with creepy little baby rock things. I don't know how to describe it. It just looks creepy. Anyways, she's able to take them down, and then they end up kind of going back to their own world at this end of the issue. Mm-hmm. So this one I gave a 3.5. I didn't love it. Mm-hmm. I didn't hate it. I thought it was decent. Mm-hmm. And that's about it.
All right, so shout out to your main bitch, or whatever the hell you said about Harley Quinn. I also read the Harley Quinn series. This is issue 63. Also a Year of the Villain tie-in.
Why?
Which they actually made light of and actually made a joke about.
Okay.
It was literally only mentioned the last couple of pages, and they kind of like... They tried
just
to like
slip it in.
Yeah, pretty much. And they made joke of that fact that they basically were just putting it in there at the end and tried to make it seem like a much bigger deal than it
like
really
it's
was.
Important.
Yeah, exactly. But minus those couple of last pages where they tried to do that and made a joke out of it, which were also enjoyable. This was a fucking great issue, I must say. And I'm not huge on the Harley Quinn series. Every once in a while, it hits me with an issue where I'm like, that was really, really good. Not that it's ever really bad.
It just kind of has the consistent flow.
Yeah, and, you know, it's not like a character like I'm super in love with, like Christine. So, like, for me, I kind of read it because they usually do end up putting some good creators or artists on the book, whether or not I'm in love with it. But this issue in particular was quite excellent. Death is on the cover, and basically what's going on in the current storyline is that her mother was just diagnosed with bone cancer, and it was quite sad towards the end of the last issue in the midst of like a very fun storyline that kind of crept up out of nowhere. And in this issue, it became very real fast. Like, it was like one of these things where she's at the hospital with her mother. She kind of learnt of all these things, and you know, she came to the realization that she doesn't have long to live. And then, you know, it was very thoughtful, very emotional, and which I don't expect from a Harley Quinn comic. But then from there, she went out to go find her mom something to do since she's stuck in the hospital, and became a commentary on how video stores don't exist anymore. And like,
R.I.P. Blockbuster.
Right, and then it just like kind of ventured into even more interesting things, which I have thoughts I share with the writer on this kind of stuff. So, and then you know, they even had some laughs with the whole death character actually showing up in this, and kind of, you know, so and you know, I won't spoil it that much, but it became pretty funny towards the end. So it had all the emotions in this one, all the feels. So I gave this a 5 out of 5.
Wow.
Yeah, for me, which is Harley Quinn, I'm very, very surprised on that one.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then we got Black Hammer, Age of Doom 11. Black Hammer is a comic which I love, and Christine also loves. This is by Toronto's own Jeff Lemire. Fantastic creator who we've had the pleasure of meeting quite a few times. We own original art from him, and he's just like a really great...
Just very down to earth.
Very great
human,
writer / artist, creator in that sense. He does it all as well. He doesn't draw this though. Dean Ormston draws this series, and Black Hammer is basically a series of like his own take on superheroes. Like, he basically created his own superhero world, which which parallels like DC and Marvel comics. Like he kind of takes
like the Justice League or Avengers style.
Yeah, he takes inspiration from characters he likes from comics and does his own twist on them and his own. And so essentially he's created his own world and his own characters with this series. So it has nothing really to do with either of those.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, as always, this is always every issue when it comes out. I do look forward to it. I was happy to see it again because, I think this main series right now only comes out maybe every couple of months because it also has a mini series.
A couple of tie-ins.
Yeah, that come out the months that this doesn't come out. So sometimes it takes like a month or two before we actually see an issue come out of this. So every time it does come out, I'm always looking forward to reading it. And this issue was. Progressed the current storyline along. It was enjoyable. Left on a big cliffhanger, which I'm looking forward to next issue. But I give it a 4 out of 5. It's always good. I always love spending time with these characters. But at this point, we're in the middle of a lot of things that are going on. And this was kind of just like a catch-up issue, I felt. So I give it a 4 out of 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'm going to continue with the Justice League Dark because I have a couple of those. So this is issue number 11 with the same creative team. So I thought this issue was more interesting than the first one that I had read this week. And the ending definitely has me intrigued. So this one, they ended with Zatanna and Wonder Woman meeting head with Mordru, and he is the Lord of Chaos who ends up giving them a gem that makes them the Lords of Chaos as well. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was super interesting. Because Zatanna is very powerful with magic, but this guy is he knew her father, and they were able to kind of confront him and have a conversation, but they couldn't even come close to what type of power that he has. And then the fact that they ended up taking his power basically and becoming Lords of Chaos themselves, and they look badass. They look crazy.
Yeah.
But they look badass.
Right.
And that kind of ending made me very intrigued to read the next issue. Mm-hmm. I gave this issue a 4 out of 5. It still wasn't my favorite, but it was still very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up for me is Space Bandits number 1. This is the new miniseries by Mark Millar and Matteo Scalera, who's just a fucking beast. Yeah. Fresh off of, the finale, I think, is next issue of Black Science, a series that Matteo Scalera has been drawing for the past few years.
Still be fresh off. He hasn't drawn that yet.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm sure
drawing that.
He's already finished.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, but I mean,
fresh off of that, he started this.
Yeah, thank you.
Which Mark Millar always has the greatest artists.
He does. Yeah, I mean, Mark Millar, for anybody who's listening, you may not know, is the creator of such thing as Kick-Ass. More commonly known as the Secret Service movies, Kingsman, right? He wrote those things, and more to come on Netflix. Stay tuned because he signed a deal with Netflix, and a few of his comics that he's been coming out with for the past few years are actually going to be coming out on Netflix now with their own TV shows. So I wouldn't be surprised if this one becomes one because this was excellent. This is so much fucking fun. I mean, he teamed up with an excellent artist as always, like he normally does, but Matteo Scalera, man, I love his work, and not that this was, like, too far off from Black Science, which is a series he had done for the past few years, just wrapped up, yeah. No, I mean, it's in space, right? So, like, even though there's other dimensions and stuff like that in Black Science, like, they're all wearing spacesuits and stuff like that. This one, the difference in this one was that it actually had, like, a bunch of characters in these places in space that all were rocking different styles from different eras. So, like, they made mention of the fact that, like, hey, the 80s took a while, the fashion, to reach certain points in certain cities on Earth. You should see how long it took for them to hit the style here in space. So, like, as you're going through this issue, you're seeing all these crazy different 80s kind of get-ups of different era and other different eras, like on different planets and places that they go, that people. So it actually brought an interesting kind of another layer of to the book, like just like the look of it. Yeah, so it's not like your regular like everyone's walking around in spacesuits or like high tech like futuristic clothing. No, they're walking around in there's guys that there's a guy that's wearing a Michael Jackson jacket in this, for instance. So like you know what I mean, like so it actually gave it a cool aesthetic to this series.
I can
right
see
out
Mateo
the gate.
Fucking killing that.
He did.
Killing it.
I mean, Mateo kills anything. But
I know, but like this seems very up his alley.
So and again, it's not what I expected. As the story progressed, like top-notch pacing in the storyline for a first issue, it's jam-packed. It made me left me wanting more, and kind of went in a couple different directions in this issue where you think it's one thing the first half, and then it kind of flips it on its ass and it's a whole other thing in the second half. Huh. But then at the end, it all comes together. Twist. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, really, really excellent issue. I gave it a 5. Space Bandits, really, really fucking good.
Nice.
And,
Halt.
Oh, my bad.
My turn.
Okay.
We're going to finish this Justice League Dark off.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is the final issue, or I'm all caught up with this now. So the Justice League Dark number 12, same creative team. So now this
You're all caught up, and I think we just dropped the book.
Did we really?
Yes.
Oh.
I think we've stopped ordering the book, I think, as of now. Oh. I'll hear what you have to say, though. Maybe it'll change.
I thought you just read this.
I did, but I think that was the last issue that I've ordered.
Shocking. Anyways, on that note...
It's the best issue out of the 3 you're talking about.
I enjoyed this.
I know. I knew you were going to say that, because that's how I felt when I read it. I was like, well, damn.
I thought this was quite good, actually. They had some kind of past to present storylines within this, which was the past is with Bruce Wayne, Batman, and Wonder Woman kind of having a conversation about her starting this whole Justice League Dark team and his concerns about it, which I thought was really good, and kind of his concerns about her dabbling in, the world of darker magic, which we already know now she becomes like one of the Lords of Chaos in this book. So his concerns were not far off. But yeah, no, I love the pacing of this. I thought it was really good. You kind of get to see a little more character from the characters, which, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Character development.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because with all this crazy shit that's been going on last couple issues, you haven't really spent much time with the characters
anybody.
just interacting with each other.
Face value.
Exactly.
So you actually get to delve a little bit more within each character. So I thought that was really good. I gave this one a 4.5.
4.5? That I will say, out of that whole stack you just talked about tonight, that was my favorite issue, is the one you just talked about. It ended the arc up very nicely, so the story arc. So
I may not be reading this anymore, folks.
We might come back to it, because we both felt the same way on that one. Yeah, that's the other thing, everybody. Like, with comics, if you order from a comic shop, you have to order your comics
ahead of time.
3 months ahead of time. So if you're not vibing on something currently, and you don't order it a couple months in advance, that's what we were referring to as dropping the book. Like, sometimes we might not be vibing on a book anymore, and we're just like, this one, we can let this go. We can drop this off our list of current titles that we read.
Pick it up cheap or whatever.
Yeah, if we see it, again.
Or just stop reading it
altogether. Yeah, exactly. But, so yeah, if you ever hear us use that term, basically that just means we're dropping the book. So, yeah. We're anyways, Savage Avengers number 3. This was fantastic. Fantastic.
It went, yes.
Yes. So, Christine's happy to hear that, because we've read the first 2 issues of this series, and number 2 was
kind of a downer compared to the first one.
Yeah, right out the gate, the first one was really fun. Like, so basically this Savage Avengers is like almost like all the badass characters in the Marvel Universe on one team. So this could have either been the stupidest book that had come out or the greatest, and for me it's the greatest so far. So this Avengers team consists of the Punisher, Wolverine, Elektra, Dr. Voodoo is pretty much like another Doctor Strange type character. Conan, which Marvel now has the rights to doing Conan comics, okay? So he is in a Marvel comic, and a Venom symbiote. So it's not Venom per se, but it's one of the symbiote creatures that's in this. So that's a pretty fucking awesome team, if I do say so myself. So basically, this 3 issues in, the storyline is still bringing all these characters together. But in this 3rd issue especially, everyone's full force, basically together, all working together now to take down this guy who is trying to resurrect this this evil being that can destroy the earth, essentially. Like, he needed blood from all these warriors or basically important people from around the world to channel into, like, I guess some sort of, like,
sometimes like a mystical pool of power.
That's right,
kind of thing.
yeah, and basically to resurrect this being. So some progress was made on that front in this particular issue, but you also got awesome fucking moments, like, for instance, Conan picking up a beaten down Wolverine who's just, like, bleeding, like, bloody as fuck, and using his detracted claws to slash people that are coming to attack him. So Wolverine's down and out. He's collapsed, and his claws, though, are out. Conan picks up his body and uses
Using them
him
like a sword,
yeah,
like a spear.
Yeah, and
Or
he's
like a fork?
he's like, "Live, man! I must know what these swords are made of." He's fucking like, it is fucking great. The Conan and Wolverine moments are my favorite. Just
That's
because
what I loved about the first issue,
Yeah.
and then the second issue you didn't have that.
You get more of that in
Okay,
this.
excellent.
Number 3 is right back up to their standards of the first issue. Oh, I'm yelling. Okay, so give this a 5 out of 5. If you couldn't tell.
You have one more.
All right. And then you got Sea of Stars. This is a new series coming out of Image Comics by Jason Aaron and Dennis Hallam, previously known as Dennis Hopeless, a writer that I do enjoy, but he's now using his real name, I guess not a pen name, which Hopeless was, I guess, of his before. And artist Stephen Green and Rico Renzi on colors. This is a really good book. Really, it's the first issue. I mean, I usually check out anything that Jason Aaron writes, but having him co-writing on a book is not something I'm used to, so it was kind of interesting to see him co-writing with somebody.
Collaboration?
But he's also a writer. I also like his work, so I looked forward to this. This was good. This is basically a space story about a father and son that are like on like a cargo spaceship of some sort going through space. He recently has lost his mother. He was kind of forced to go embarked on this journey, this work job that this guy has that will take a week of them going through space to do this cargo run. And basically it starts off with the kid complaining that he has stuck with his father on this cargo run for a week. Like, why'd he have to come? You can tell he's kind of still hurt by the passing of his mother, and the father's just trying to cope. This is something we've seen in film and books done quite often, this kind of thing, you know, the son being stuck with his father.
The child being,
Right.
Losing a parent, stuck with another one. They're both in grief at different stages.
Exactly. And what happens? They both get separated in space.
Oh, no!
But you know what? It was very well done. The art was really interesting. And there is big whales in this, babe. I know you like your your blue planet.
Space whales?
Yeah. Your blue planet. Yeah,
I
pretty
do
much.
love
That's the best
planet.
I can use to describe it. Or maybe it's a squid of some sort. I don't know. I'm showing you the picture here, and
it's looking kind of whaley.
Yeah. Anyways, there's some space creatures that look like aquatic animals here, so, or mammals, I guess you could say. I gave it a 5 out of 5. It was a great start.
Holy crap!
I know, handing out 5s like candy here.
I know. I'm feeling very downerish over here. All right, so we're changing it up. I got the Batman Who Laughs number 6. So this is the second last issue of this storyline. So this one, we have a whole storyline where, so this is a whole bunch of clones of Batman coming from all different dimensions.
Yep.
and they all have to... They're all being brought in by this Batman who laughs.
Yep.
Who's creating this serum. Correct?
Yep.
Yes. And basically, it's kind of like a Joker serum, but not.
Yep.
Kind of deal. Correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love the character design in this book, and Jock is a beast for art. This is Scott Snyder. I was like, is this also James Tynion?
No.
Like, holy crap, my entire day. But yeah, so this one, one of the little details that I like in some of Scott Snyder and Jock's work that we've seen before is the little subtext that they put in the dialogue.
Yeah.
Within this, so like they'll be there's word bubbles, but within the word bubbles they're also saying something else. They may change letters to a different color to create new text, which I always think is kind of fun. But yeah, I thought this was a really great issue. I liked it because Batman finally thinks that he has the upper hand, and then he finally gets the Batman who laughs, which in the end he actually plays right into the Batman who laughs hand.
Yes.
And does exactly what he wants.
Right. Because he knows what he's going to do, because he is
essentially
a Bruce Wayne. So he knows. That's the thing. They both know each other so well, but our Bruce Wayne doesn't realize.
Has never been Batman who laughs.
Yeah.
So therefore he doesn't have the upper hand on him.
Right.
And then the whole thing with Gordon and his son, they're kind of working together in tangent, and then in the end his son turns?
Yeah.
That's kind of where you leave?
Yeah.
So this one I gave a 4.5. I quite enjoyed it.
Nice. All right, Dead Man Logan, number 9 of 12. I'm going to be sad to see this series go when it does conclude. I've actually quite enjoyed, in the absence of the regular Wolverine comics and character in the Marvel Universe until very recently, this old Man Logan era of Wolverine has been quite fun. And this series is no exception. This is by Ed Brisson, written by him, and art by Mike Henderson, who's also fucking great. Who I actually have a Wolverine commission from that I'm looking on the wall right now, Samurai Logan. This was awesome. That big pink dude who's like the Hulk killer from last issue, Christine, if you recall.
Yeah, I do. He looks like a Boo.
Yeah, he looks like Boo from Dragon Ball Z. He's in this again, and I think Ed Brisson, he makes really great use of this timeline and the Marvel Universe in this particular issue. Like, you see other characters pop up, like he's been doing throughout this whole series, that play a part in this future storytelling of this timeline of the Old Man Logan, and just some really interesting ideas come to fruition with him playing with some characters so far in the future in this apocalyptic setting. So, and Sabretooth is still on the way to basically kill Logan at this point. He's rolling around with Hulk's son in this. And he's a unique character because he's not as angry or as,
he likes to read.
Yes, he does, or fucked up as the Hulk. So he's basically more of like a harmless, like kind-hearted Hulk kind of character.
In quotations.
Yes, exactly. With a temper if you fucking catch him at the wrong time. It's just really, really, really great series. If you have never checked this out, I
haven't read the newest one, but I know up until then it's been great.
Yeah, it's great. I give it a 5 out of 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
You really are giving those out like candy.
I am, yeah.
Okay, so Batman number 73. So I always think the art is really solid in this book. I know Niko did help me with some of the storyline, which now makes a whole lot more sense, which is all things that I know, knowing Batman, but just I didn't think of it when reading this. So this issue is very art driven. It's kind of a very light issue. It has a lot, it goes by the theme song of Home on the Range. which once you start reading that in your head, you can't unread it in your head. So even when they're not singing it, I was reading the text like it.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
So things don't make a lot of sense in that theme song.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Batman, or Bruce Wayne's father, is now in this storyline. And he saves Batman, or finds Batman in the middle of the desert from previous issues. And goes to, is bringing him to Ra's al Ghul in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
And they're questioning why he has a coffin, which is what I was also questioning. And then Niko informed me that this is because Ra's al Ghul has, what's it called again?
A Lazarus pit.
A Lazarus pit,
yeah.
Which is a place that you can bring basically bodies and they will be resurrected.
Yeah.
So this issue I gave a 4 out of 5. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
It wasn't fantastic. It was good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a a trope that's popped up time and time again in Batman comics with Ra's al Ghul. Like, if you think Ra's al Ghul, you think Lazarus Pit, because Ra's al Ghul, that's the whole reason he's still alive to this day, because he has that. He basically keeps rejuvenating himself in the Lazarus Pits, and that's how also Damian came back to life in the Grant Morrison run on Batman. Like, he died, and then he brought him back, his son, in the Lazarus Pits, because he is basically he is Talia's son. Like, that's who he had sex with. He had sex with Roz's daughter, but like back in the day.
Yeah.
And then Grant Morrison, when he did his Batman run, took that one instance of him actually, like, they had hooked up in one comic, okay? And took that instance and said, "Hey, listen, you remember that time you had sex with me?
Let's create a whole new character."
Yes. This is brilliant, if you think about it.
It is.
Whether or not you like the character, because Damian has a lot of people that people don't love that Robin or love that character. The fact of the matter is, Grant Morrison fucking took something that was an afterthought.
Out of nothing,
Out of nothing, exactly, and basically made it something which is a character to this day, like a long-lasting character that stayed several years later, right? So, it is interesting. Anyway, so Superman Up in the Sky #1 by Tom King, Adam Kubert on art. This is a comic now that they're releasing monthly through DC Comics that was originally in a thing that they did with Walmart. You may or may not recall, a year or so ago, DC Comics had a partnership with Walmart, which is now done, where they were releasing these issues exclusively through Walmart's, and they actually put some good creators on these books, so they would have 10, 20 pages per issue. In the Walmart, it'd be like a $5 comic or a $10 comic. It was mostly reprinted older material, like a giant size issue, but each issue had an exclusive storyline by top creators, so people that wanted to read those certain stories would go to the Walmart, and they were trying to see if there was a market in it by distributing them. Ultimately, I don't think it was that successful, because they recently just said they are pulling the plug on this partnership with Walmart, and there won't be releasing any more comics. But there was people that were going to Walmart and picking these up specifically for this, right? They tried to have it by the cash. Exactly. Anyways, I did not buy into that, even though they had a couple of good writers that I liked doing stuff over there, Tom King and Brian Michael Bendis, who's doing a Batman comic. But now they've announced that they're going to be releasing this Superman book and the Batman book by Bendis now monthly through comic stores. This is a year later now.
Money.
Exactly. So this is 1 out of a 6-issue series. Tom King is a writer I really, really enjoy, and this is the first time I've seen him write Superman. This was great, because it gave him a chance to write a lot of characters, Superman included, as well as a lot of the Justice League, that you actually haven't seen him write before prior to this, because he's mainly been in the Batman world on Batman, and then C-list characters like Mr. Miracle, like things that people, like these other tertiary series, that people don't really care about, but he kind of made his his name on.
Yeah.
this was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed this. He actually has a lot of interesting ideas in this. Basically, a girl gets taken and brought into, I guess, I mean, this is the reason why it's called Up in the Sky. Some girl, some girls get attacked in this, and somebody takes this small girl and escapes with her up in the sky and takes her away for whatever reason, and Superman has to rescue her. But he's going off the story of another girl who told him basically what happened to them with this whole and he feels a responsibility of getting this girl and bringing her back, obviously, to her home, to Earth.
Of course, yeah.
But all he knows and all he has to work off of is the fact that she got taken up into the sky. So he doesn't know where this person is, how to track them. So basically this whole issue is him battling with the fact of trying to figure out how to get this girl back because she was depending on him, and he's Superman, right? So, and apparently the other girl said to him, yeah, we were playing with our toys, and she took the Superman figure, even though it's my figure, you're her favorite, and she loves you, and basically, like, while we were playing around... while we were playing around, this fucking guy came and took her away and went up into the sky. So, like, you don't know, like, what happened to this girl and why she was taken or what exactly was going on. So, this whole first issue is him trying to, like, figure things out and trying to... some self-examination about what Superman is and, you know, what people that depend on him, essentially. Yeah. So, yeah, again, the art at some places in this was a little wonky. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it, though. I like Tom King, and I like his take on Superman so far.
Huh.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so my last issue for the evening is Conan Number 6, which is also by Jason Aaron, and another beast in art, Mahmoud Asrar. So this is Conan, which Niko mentioned earlier, that is newly introduced into the Marvel Universe. And this was excellent. So Mahmoud's art is always on par. It's always awesome. This has a lot of action. He becomes like the underdog as usual. He's the outcast. Everyone, treats him like garbage. He sleeps on the outskirts. He sleeps on the dirt, on the rocks, and yet nobody listens to him, and everybody in this army dies.
Oh yes, that issue. Yeah, sorry, it's been a while since I had read that one. Yeah, yeah.
And then they finally, the few remaining people who listen to Conan, actually, now follow suit, have now. Right. Pledge their allegiance to him and go to the king of this land, which I don't recall at the time because these lands don't make sense.
Well, Conan's from Samaria.
Yizgurderd.
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
I don't know what that is.
Exactly. That's the king of whatever land he's the king of.
Yeah.
King Yizgurderd. They go to and they get a new army.
Yeah, of course.
And then in the underlying of all of these issues has the creepiest dead-looking witch with two young kids, which is kind of like a Hansel and Gretel type of feel.
It's been the through line throughout this first entire arc.
They're waiting.
Yeah.
Like, every story is kind of a one shot.
Yeah.
But there's always a through line with these characters where they're waiting for the supreme time basically to kill Conan. They know that they can't just take him over, so they're waiting for... Yeah. It seems like they're waiting for him to be king, for him to die, but they're the creepiest trio in comics at the moment.
I like that. Because essentially Jason Aaron's been... that's the present day in this storyline, but all these one-shots he's been doing have been the past stories of Conan that he's been telling. Yeah. Kind of like the same thing he did with the Thors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a present, but he tells everything in the past. Yes. And then gives you a little hint of the present at the end. Yeah. Exactly. And he kills it with that.
Yeah.
Kind of
He's great at doing that.
Yeah. So this I give it a 5.
Of course. And I assume if you want to wait... Oh, I guess we'll wait till my last comic to announce it, but I would assume that's your pick of the week.
Well, if anybody who's keeping tabs, that was my only 5. So...
Yeah. Uncanny X-Men number 21 is my last comic I'm going to talk about tonight. This is by Matthew Rosenberg, art by Louis LaRocca. This run has been okay. I like Rosenberg on this title. I think he has a love for the X-Men, which is very evident, and he enjoys these characters, and he's told a decent story. But in one more issue, his run ends and makes way for Jonathan Hickman on the title, who is basically going to not take any of this into account. Basically
wipe the slate clean.
Exactly, which is much needed for the X-Men because it has been floundering for quite a long time prior to this. Yeah. But I will give him his credit where it's due here, and Matthew Rosenberg, you were probably the best writer whose run has been probably my favorite out of the last, probably since Bendis left the books, and that's been 4 years ago or so, and a lot of people hate the Bendis run of the books, so what does that tell you? So, my bulk of the X-Men has been on the Wolverine and the X-Men Jason Aaron stuff, along with the Wolverine series that Jason Aaron did, and along with the Rick Remender Uncanny X-Force, amongst other things around that time that were coming out. So, that's my era of the X-Men, at least from when I was reading comics. And I've read a bunch of random smatterings of the old shit. But
just that old shit here now and again.
Yeah, but this, that's why. So I can't say I've read too much. Actually, no, I've read Grant Morrison too. I've read a bunch of X-Men. Let's just put it that way. And this, I wouldn't say is at the top of the heap, but it's not a shit run in any sense of the word, in my opinion. So I give this a 4 out of 5.
Nice.
All right, Christine. So how do you think this went today?
I thought it was all right.
I think that what we need to incorporate for the next time, if I can just talk off the cuff here to our listeners, if this ever does come out, is that we just got to talk more like we do normally to ourselves, because that was the whole point of us doing this. And I think myself, I'm not saying you actually did quite a good job of it. I over-explained the shit out of everything I was talking about.
And if anyone knows Niko, you know why.
So I just need to condense myself down next time to kind of the bare minimum of points I want to make, and just act like it's more of a conversation between you and me.
More fun, not so analytical. Instead of the
listeners. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we'll get there, hopefully. Once again, if this does get released, please let us know what you thought of it. This is Christine's first time doing a podcast, so please, be honest, but be nice.
I appreciate constructive criticism.
There you go. So, Christine, what was your pick of the week this week?
Conan.
Yes.
100% Conan.
Yeah.
It was my only 5, like I said.
Yeah.
It was great.
I mean, I had several 5s.
You gave them out like candy, so I don't know what's yours. I have a feeling. I just don't know for sure. It's gonna be Harley.
You know what? It was close. It was close. No, I have to give it to Space Bandits.
I had a feeling. With
Space...
Mateo, yeah. I figured.
Space Bandits number 1. Runner-ups, though, I will mention, was Headlopper and Harley, actually. Mm-hmm. And Savage Avengers.
Harley's the best.
Yeah. So, it's not even fair to say I had 4 fucking runner-ups. That's almost all the 5s I gave out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm conflicted, as you can tell. But Space Bandits, I have to give it to, because it was the best combination of art and fun I had with the book, probably, this week. So there you have it. Okay, everyone. Hopefully you'll see you guys next time, and thanks for listening.
It was fun. Thank you.
Thanks.